this is something you wake up and you realize it's never going to go away. And it's a very different, 2 a.m. is a dark hour. I can tell you that. We're all.
I think we need to post this timeline because it's a small community. This is like 7,000 people. We need to put a timeline out there where just random people can look there. I mean, people don't know, but their Teslas are filming 24/7, 7 days a week. So there could be somebody who doesn't realize that they have evidence.
Their ring cams, their phones, they were out and they were recording, and you know what? They look and, oh, what's that shady person? Look at that guy that just ran across the camera in the back. It's always those little things.
Did you get gas during the time that this activity was going on?
Gas stations. Did somebody go in and buy Band-Aids? I mean, obviously they're checking hospitals for somebody going in and, you know, we're assuming this person was wounded. We're assuming this person got hurt in this struggle and this altercation that took place that night. You know, they possibly needed stitches or were, you know, going to Walgreens at 3 a.m. getting Band-Aids. I mean.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Breaking news in Idaho, where 4 college students were killed and still no answers. It is now day 6 since the horrific overnight attacks that left 4 University of Idaho students dead in their off-campus home. While many details are remaining unclear, investigators have learned that a physical struggle took place before the murders happened, and that 2 additional roommates were in another part of the house that night. They're not believed to be involved.
We do have a pretty tight timeline on Kaylee and Maddie, and it is close to what they are posting, but it is a difference, and that difference actually could be huge. I mean, it could be, it could not be, but you know, 145, 159. So there is, and we have corroborated with my phone records, Kaylee's phone records, the driver that was driving them around.
Yeah, so you
really
have,
concrete.
You have pulled video seeing the Uber driver dropping them off.
Yes.
You've checked your phone records. You know with
Yes.
timestamps what
Yes.
time they got home.
Yeah.
It's not exactly what police are saying, right?
Right.
It's not 145.
Kaylee and Maddie were picked up from their home at 1122 King around 10:15. It's about a 5-minute drive down. So they arrived to Corner Club around 10:20, which is different than what was released at 10. We know that Kaylee called for an Uber at 1:45. He arrived at 1:49, got in the car around 1:50. It's about a 5-6 minute drive. They arrived home at 1:56.
you get gas during the time that this activity was going
Gas
on?
stations. Is somebody going in and buy Band-Aids? I mean, obviously they're checking hospitals for somebody going in and, we're assuming this person was wounded. We're assuming this person got hurt in this struggle and this altercation that took place that night. They possibly needed stitches or were, going to Walgreens at 3 a.m. getting Band-Aids. I mean,
We asked forensic audio expert Anthony Nelson to enhance the audio for Inside Edition.
It definitely doesn't sound like a human calling out or screaming to me.
Could it be a squeak of a wheel speeding away?
Yes.
It could be.
Yes.
This is a view of Taylor Avenue. In this clip, at 3:12 and 3 seconds, you're going to see a vehicle from the right-hand side traveling west towards King Road. Watch the clock at the bottom right of your screen. At 3:12 and 39 seconds, the runners will run from King Road. While they're situating themselves in the getaway car, at 3:13 and 45 seconds, you'll see a tall, lanky female figure dressed to the teeth emerge from a yard on the left into our view on Linda Lane, carrying a light, be it a phone or a flashlight. As she makes her way to a dumpster in front of 1320 Linda Lane, the car that picked up the King Road runners will turn around and pass Linda Lane as the female figure calmly takes her hand out of her coat, carefully place something into the dumpster, and afterwards makes her way up a driveway and presumably back to the King Road residence. The arrival of the getaway car, the King Road runners leaving the crime scene, and this central figure possibly disposing of the murder weapon all coincide. The female figure at the Linda Lane dumpster is our Subject 1. Subject 2, the 3 o'clock black truck, is also key to the scenario that plays out before our eyes between 3 o'clock and 3:15. In our estimation, the King Road murders started before 2 o'clock, while the last 2 victims were attacked as soon as they ascended the steps to the second floor, and their phones were used to stage the scene when the fake calls were being made to Jack D. The phone call from Madison to Bethany was not made by Madison. This is our working theory.
Now can you see her? Why should she feel afraid? As you watch her make her way to the dumpster, other people's garbage, sound familiar? You can see how she keeps her right hand close to her body as if she is concealing something. At the dumpster, you will see 2 things simultaneously happening. The lanky female figure carefully places something into the dumpster. At the same time, the getaway car, for lack of a better term, drives past and most probably are pleased with her. This had to be planned, maybe even down to the motion detector lights at 1122 King Road. Who knew about this? Who is the central figure in this plan? Our guess is that there was a mixture of motives which served as a catalyst to actions taken by several individuals. The portion of timeline that we have covered in this presentation has been that of 12:20 a.m. until 3:51:03, when Dylan's phone activity resumed from earlier. Ain't that right?
And what happened is not my fault. So I'm not going to be the one to willingly bear the costs of this misinformation campaign.
I just wanted to find out if you still ever try and convince people.
So I don't engage with it because I feel like it's a losing battle. If you've consumed a tabloid story about me and you want to engage with me on a tabloid level, there's no conversation to be had. I found that that is one in which someone has already made up their mind about me. And no matter what I do, it's always going to be seen through a guilty lens. I'm still someone who has been deeply traumatized by this experience. I think that my relationship, obviously, with the Italian media and the British media is frustrating. Their job was to hold the authorities accountable to the truth. And instead of holding the authorities accountable to the truth and to the evidence, they latched on to any and all salacious misinformation to sell a product to people instead of sharing real information that was in the public interest. I could have stopped talking about this long ago if the people who were responsible for how this entire case spiraled out of control were accountable to the truth.
It's also journalists' duty to cover what they can get their hands on. And also, here we had a British girl, a British woman who was murdered, and you were put in the frame, as was your then boyfriend. And that in itself, regardless of how, I suppose, tabloids function and media operations, was a story so many people wanted anything they could get their hands on.
If we just want a story so bad because it has all these elements that make it just, you know, like perfectly salacious, that we just can't like help ourselves to get like to treat it like, you know, guilty candy, like this is at the expense of Meredith's family and my family and Raffaele's family and the people who are most directly traumatized by the experience.
One of the things that has bothered you the most, it seems, about those trials and the way it was covered was the misdirected focus on your sexuality. And you say you keep talking about this because you don't think it has changed.
Yeah, so if we think about the way that this case ultimately was portrayed, it was never about the men. There were two men who were accused in this case, and they became irrelevant very quickly, despite the fact that one of them had an insane amount of evidence against him of having sexually assaulted and violently murdered Meredith. He disappeared.